Rob, one of the things that I've talked to a number of people about is that concern with things like depression, anxiety, drug, alcohol abuse. I mean, the times that we're facing right now are scary times for people. And I think that's one of the things that I'm very concerned about is that spin-off effect. And um, again, any thoughts on that? Because that is a big concern. Like, you know what? Maybe you don't get COVID-19, but there's so many other factors that come in here that we have to be careful of.
I can tell you I'd have to be careful about what I say because, I have a very particular opinion about it. And my opinion is that you will see far more suicides in the next year than any deaths from COVID in the country of Canada. To me, it is the far bigger problem than COVID ever will be.
I share that opinion with you. I think suicide's a bigger concern right now because of what's going on.
It's going to be far worse. The economical, problems we're going to see out of this that are going to cause, major depressions and everything else. I can tell you in the last 6 or 7 weeks, I haven't been the same person. And one of the reasons I've really amped up the things that I've been doing is to keep me focused on doing something so that I don't slip into another depression. So I've been very cognitive in that as far as just trying to keep, my tendencies in depression away from where they like to go. I'm very good at recognizing my hips and valleys. I do a good job at trying to mitigate it, but I think that's years of therapy. And I don't think a lot of people have that toolkit or that toolbox to be able to open and go to. And so, you asked the previous question about, what you can do as a business leader. Recognize this in your people. Recognize this in the fact that, everybody is looking at this differently and everybody's going to react to it differently, and be open to understanding what their problems are personally. And be that, I'm not going to say leader, but just be the person who cares about your people. And I say your people, but it's a team, right? And it's a family relationship. And, I will notice that in my daughter, there's certain things happening and I worry for her. I mean, she's grade 12, she gets no graduation this year. She turns 18 on May 14th and can't go to the pub with her dad for wings and a beer that she's been expecting for the last year. Little things like that seem trivial, but to a 17, 18-year-old kid, that is a big deal. So we would treat our children with that respect and worry about what's happening with them, but we don't do it to the people who we employ, right? Or who that we work with on a regular basis. And I would say change your mental mindset about that, because that will certainly help, the narrative on suicides as we go forward. The more help that anybody who's depressed gets, the better it's going to be. And I think we really need to change the focus to that right now, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. You know what, I years and years ago suffered from some anxiety. And I think the difference being is that for guys like us, maybe that have experienced it in the past, we can maybe see some of those little signs that you got to change something, keep focused. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are experiencing anxiety and depression for the first time. And those are the people that we need to help out and give them some direction.
100% agree. And the more we talk, the same thing as before, like when I talked about, the more you talk about your business, the more you talk about what you're passionate about. This is one thing that I am very, very passionate about. So I have no problem telling people of my past problems with depression and my past problems with suicide and everything else. I'm sure my wife doesn't like me talking about it, but I tell my kids are aware. And that makes sure that I know they understand the place that they can get to so that they feel comfortable about being able to come to me if they ever find themselves in that position. And I do that with everybody, not just my kids, right? Because I think it's every single person's responsibility to ensure this never happens to anybody.
Yeah. You know what, I think that I've had a few people say to me that we tend as business leaders, we put on our armor and we make it sound like everything is okay. And you might have other business leaders going, well, I wish I was as good as Rob because he looks like he's got everything together, and they don't realize that everybody has struggles. And once you can kind of take that armor off a little bit, let the guard down, people go, holy shit, I'm not alone,
No, and that's exactly it. And, I am by no means someone to look up to in any realm, right? I just want to do the right thing, and if is an example for, sorry, I get clamped. If that's an example for someone, then awesome, right? I don't want to ever see anybody in the position that I was in. I got really lucky,
Yeah.
really lucky. Like nobody understands the luck that was in. I never expect to win the lottery ever, right? Because I've already won mine. So I don't think people understand how dark it can get and how lucky we are to be alive and how lucky we are to be doing what we're doing, so it's just be gracious, right? It's just, and be gracious to everybody. I had an argument with my cousin the other day about, whether this, we should be opening up the economy or not. And I mentioned it before. She's scared. I get it. I completely understand her perspective. But she won't reply to my emails now because she's pissed off at me because I'm concerned about my kids.
Yeah.
And I totally understand it, right? But at the same time, we all have to be gracious about it.
No, and I think be empathetic and like you say, get out and help and do what you can and stay focused. And so, Rob, you know what? I sincerely appreciate it. And I do think you are somebody to look up to, because I think what you're doing in the community and with the business and the message you're getting out there and helping out all your buddies in the restaurant business, I think is absolutely something to look up to. So thank you for taking the time and for chatting with me today. And hopefully we can get some of your restaurant buddies on here as well and share the same message. So thanks for taking the time, and let's stay in touch.
No. And yeah, appreciate that. And thank you for taking the time as well. I look forward to seeing it, and let's share the crap out of it.
Perfect.